I believe things are about to take a turn uh, in terms of what Alec Murdaugh is going to start doing and just the kind of lifestyle he's going to start living and participating in back there in South Carolina prison. Right now, he's still at McCormick in it's protective custody unit. That doesn't mean he's isolated and just locked away from any and every inmate and any and every guard. He's kind of in a PC unit where he's surrounded by other guys who he talks and mingles with and plays cards with, as we know, who are also in that PC unit for various reasons. Okay. So that's where he's at right now. After this most recent update, where he's not being granted a new trial because of what went on with the jurors and everything, I believe some major changes are about to happen in the way he goes about how he does his prison time. Now, I hate to keep repeating this, but just to sum it up for you real quick, if anyone is a new viewer or your first time viewing one of my videos in regards to Murdaugh and what's going on with him back there in prison, the reason I even talk about this and why it even matters what I have to say and my insight about this is because I recently finished doing 10 years in the South Carolina Department of Corrections. That's the same DOC where Alec Murdaugh is now at. Okay, so it's going on. It just New Year's. It's been 2 years since I've been out, so still pretty fresh in those terms. So I know what's going on. I know how it works. Know how it operates, and I got a pretty accurate opinion here on what's going through Murdaugh's mind, and especially now that this has gotten shot down for him, this opportunity, what he's going to start doing. Because I still let's be honest, I've mentioned this in plenty of other videos and I've shown plenty of proof and evidence of this. I still communicate with multiple inmates who are locked up right now in the South Carolina Department of Corrections, and even one of them who is in that protective custody unit with Alec Murdaugh. That's how I know that Alec Murdaugh is not a shy inmate. He is mingling. He talks to other inmates. He likes to play cards, as we know. That's no surprise if you've been following, all the updates on him, even back at, that county jail. We heard on that phone call, he likes to gamble. He likes to play poker. He still likes to do all that. And he does that almost daily in this protective custody unit at McCormick Prison Yard. Okay, so he's out there rubbing elbows, he's mingling, all that. He's been doing that. Okay. But point is, I do keep in touch. I keep my ear to the ground with these inmates on what's going on with Murdaugh. And anytime, we get any type of information on what he's thinking, what's going through his mind or what he's doing, I know about it pretty soon. Okay. Now, if you remember, if you've been keeping up and watching all my videos on Murdaugh, couple months ago, I mentioned that, and I even showed the message thread where the inmate was telling me that Murdaugh wants to, quote, get online, but he's waiting until after this whole court thing with the juror and possibly getting a new trial because of that, some influence from, with the jury and everything. He's waiting to see what happens with that before he basically what it comes down to, because the term get online, I'll tell you now, that's slang for getting a contraband cell phone. If you're in prison and you get a contraband cell phone, they say, hey, Alec Murdaugh, he just got a phone. He's online. He just got online. And if you get caught with that phone or someone takes it, they steal it or they rob you for it, Alec Murdaugh, he's offline now. He's offline. He's not online anymore. Okay. That's pretty much how that works. So from how it was broke down to me by this inmate, it sounded like Alec Murdaugh is ready to dive right into that prison lifestyle and that prison culture and really start, mixing and seeing what all he can do, just how far he can take it. But he wants to just wait, put all that on hold until, we figure out what's going on with this shot, in the dark here of getting a new trial because of what happened with this jury. And now we know that's not going to happen. They denied him a new trial. So that's why I think, based on all those things, Now Murdaugh's about to really buckle down, hunker down, and just accept his fate pretty much. I mean, there's still one more hope maybe of an appeal, but we all know that's quite a while away. And yeah, I know plenty of guys. Again, I was there a decade. I know plenty of guys who have appeals in the works, and part of them believes they'll get it, part of them knows they won't, and that doesn't really influence what they do and how they live back there. Okay. So I really believe now we're about to see a change. We're not going to see timid Alec. Oh, I'm okay with being in protective custody, blah, blah, blah. I think there's going to be a change. And let me just break down what those changes are likely going to be and why. First and foremost, absolutely 100%. Alec Murdaugh is going to try to get his hands on a contraband cell phone. They are plentiful in South Carolina Department of Corrections. That doesn't mean they're cheap. They're actually pretty expensive, but I think Alec can get his hands on it. And, a lot of people in the comments are like, no, Alec's lost all his money. He's got to pay all this money. He's broke, essentially. He's not broke. He's not. I mean, I went on News Nation. I was the correspondent on there, and we were talking about Murdaugh. We're talking about all these leaked photos of him in his cell, and he's got bags and bags and bags of chips, coffee, cookies. I mean, any type of, how's he getting commissary if he's broke? People are sending him money at the very least. If he doesn't have his own money somehow, some way coming in, fan mail, they're sending him money. And we know this for a fact because we already have the messages. We have the electronic messages that are sent to his prison issued tablet, his electronic tablet. And there are people messaging him saying, hey, Alex, I know you're innocent, or, I don't care if you're innocent or not. I love you. You're great. You're awesome. Love you so much. Here's $20. Here's $50. Here's $100. I'll support you. Here's everything you need. He's got money coming in. He can afford these cell phones. Okay. And that's the main thing he wants. I mean, number one, if for no other reason, it's because it's boring back there. You want a cell phone and you want to stay in touch. Your fear of missing out, it's a big thing. You just want to stay in touch with the outside world, especially somebody like Murdaugh. I would imagine he wants to probably keep up with all the stuff that's being made about him. He probably watches my stuff, probably wants to watch his Netflix documentaries and all that, the news segments about him. But then after that, we notice he never, not one time, unless it's to a representative of his lawyer who sent him like 3 or 4 messages, and he'll just respond with like one word, like okay, or all right, thank you, something like that, very short. Other than that, he does not respond to any of the many, many, many women who are messaging Alex weekly, professing their love, admiration, and obsession with him. Why would he not respond? He knows these are being monitored. He knows this. But if he gets a cell phone, he can operate a little differently. He can get under the radar. We won't know what he's doing and who he's talking to and what he's saying to them. All right. I mean, if you're going to be in there, 20, 30 years or the rest of your life, I mean, you think he's just going to hold strong forever? You think he's never going to crave any other female attention? I think he will, especially when they're sending him money. Even if he doesn't care about them. I mean, you're sending me money. I'll pretend to care about you. This is a whole thing. This is not just Alec. This is a thing that many inmates do while they're back there. And I don't see Alec being any different. So I can definitely see him getting his hands on a cell phone, and he will be able to as long as he has. If you got the money, you can get it. But can you keep it? Will you get robbed for it? I don't think he will, because here's the next thing. This kind of ties into how else I think Alec is going to go about his time. I think he's going to go ahead and get himself removed from that PC unit. I don't care what you say or what you think or what you've heard or what shows and movies you've watched to give you your idea of prison. In the South Carolina Department of Corrections, if you're placed on protective custody against your will, which he's only there because he's high profile and notorious. It's not because there's been any threats, or, he's not an ex-gang member who his gang members want to kill, and nobody has any public or expressed problems with Alec Murdaugh. Everyone seems to be getting along with him just fine, and everyone seems like, hey, I'd actually love for him to come in my cell block. I'd benefit off him, and I'd do what I could to benefit him back and have this mutual, survival based relationship with each other, which is, about the best you're going to have with anyone in prison. I benefit you, you benefit me. We're cool. All right. Um, he's placed there against his will. Every 6 months, you go up in front of the board and they evaluate your situation to decide if you still need to be on protective custody. And part of that evaluation and that hearing involves hearing from the inmate. Do they want to be in protective custody or do they not? So at that part, and it has a major influence if that inmate says, I don't want to be on protective custody. I don't feel like I'm in danger. Nobody wants to get me. I don't care. I'm fine. I'm giving you my verbal, expressed consent to take me off of protective custody, put me in general population. Okay. That goes a long way. He can get off. And again, I hate to keep citing all these past videos, but I have other videos of a former sergeant. Can't say his name. He asked me not to, and I'll respect that. But a former sergeant who guaranteed me if Alec wants to get off of protective custody, he can get off of protective custody as soon as that first hearing comes up. So I think he will. I think he'll get off protective custody. He wants to go where he can get a cell phone. And then his next move after that, Alec is the epitome of there's a certain class of inmate who gets these prestigious jobs. Now, what is a prestigious job? I mean, that's kind of just the meta game of prison jobs, your normal job, ward keeper, which is what Alec was last reported to have been. That was his last job. That's kind of your normal run-of-the-mill job. That's the best you can hope for in protective custody because you can't really leave that unit and go on the yard and have any better job than that. But ward keeper, kitchen worker, landscaper, that's your main average general inmate. Doesn't matter who, what, when, or why. That's probably what most inmates are going to be assigned to as far as a job. Then there's an upper level of prestigious jobs. These are things like the librarian, who does nothing all day, lieutenant aide, sergeant aide, captain aide. These are basically personal assistants of very high-ranking, influential, powerful staff members at that yard, and you're just their secretary. You just follow them around. You're more like a buddy and a friend. And, if there's any boxes of mail or documents, you'll probably pick them up and carry them and walk beside that high-ranking staff member down to that dorm, that unit, and hand it out to the CO and leave and just, kind of follow them around as they do their day-to-day business, and anything they don't feel like doing, they'll get you to do. The inmate. Why is that a prestigious job? I mean, why does that go to a certain kind of inmate? Well, you got to think, these officers, these guards, do you think they want some thug, some miscreant, some, known cold-blooded, just he's stabbed 50 people in the past 3 years, he's selling drugs, he gets caught with a phone every other day, he is just the most gangster of all gangsters. You think they want, they're not going to choose that guy to be around them all day. The people they want to be around them and walk and talk and mingle and just how's your day and just small talk and just I got to spend most of my 12-hour shift with you every single day for most of the week for every month, every year. They're going to choose inmates who are more similar to them. Nobody is more similar, and I understand Alec, his crimes and everything. He's a criminal. But everyone there's a criminal. So if you want to narrow down the criminals to who's more like the staff, the corrections officers, the guards, out of all these criminals, these inmates, it's going to be Alec. He's the epitome of that group who they choose. They choose inmates to be that. So out of all these inmates they choose, he's kind of like the top prize here. Do I need to explain any further than that? Of course he would be. He's going to get a job like that. And when you get a job like that, you have certain privileges, certain special treatments, and certain immunities that come with that. That is just a fact, especially in a country, southern, way behind the times, kind of not paid attention to, by the higher, authorities. We're down here in the deep South, baby. People get away with a lot of stuff. I mean, just at Alec Murdaugh's old county jail, Alvin S. Glenn, I think this is their 6th, 7th guard that got arrested in just the last month for bringing in contraband, as well as having sexual relations with the inmates. I mean, this stuff happens all the time. This isn't unheard of. He will get special treatment. He will get one of these prestigious jobs. He'll have a cell phone. They'll probably never shake down his cell because of who he is and the job he has and who he's cool with. Who's he cool with? That guy that he follows around all day, every day. Who is that? The guy who is higher ranked than all the other officers who do the grunt work, which is cell shakedowns. Nobody's going to his cell and taking his cell phone or messing with him. You know, as much as many people aren't going to want to hear this, he's, is there any life that can be considered a great life or good life in prison? I understand, no, there's not. But if you got to be there and there's kind of levels to the life you can live, he's living about as good as you can in there. And that's just a fact. Nobody's going to touch him. Nobody's going to do anything to him. And that includes inmates. That includes staff. He'll be fine. He'll get a prestigious job. He's going to get a cell phone. And once he gets that cell phone, man, he better be careful, because who knows what he wants to do or how far he's going to try to take just what we know Alec Murdaugh to like to do. He likes to just set up this whole thing. He wants to gain power. He likes, you got to be careful, man, because these people on the outside, here's where the real power lies, with people on the outside. Now, if he starts contacting these people on the outside and they want to really mess him up and jam him up and get him in a bad situation, if anyone from the outside calls, especially anyone related to media, which is very likely and very easily to happen, more than your average inmate, because this is Murdaugh, and just the name Murdaugh, if you call the news, if they're going to link in with you and get on this story with you, a possible headline for an article. If someone on the outside contacts that prison and brings something like that, hey, Alec is using contraband cell phones to contact people. He's trying to do this. He's doing that. He's harassing people, or he's asking about this, making this person uncomfortable. He's blah, blah, blah. They have to take that serious, or it's their own butt. It's their own behind. As much as they may give him privileges and like him and just treat him different, he's not going to come before their own behind. So that's when you may see him get jammed up for doing way too much. So he's going to have to walk that line if he wants to stay safe. He's going to have to find that balance. But I do see him living in the upper tier amongst the inmates, as far as just as good as it can get on a prison yard. That's my thought based on my own experience and just what I've seen and all the inmates I've known and what I've seen them do throughout the years. That all equates to Alec living as good a life as he can while he's back there. And I think right about now is where we're going to see him start moving towards that. Doesn't mean we'll get many updates unless they come from inside sources, like inmates who are going to just let me know that. If he's smart, we won't get any official updates from news, because the only way that they'll have it is if he screws up and does something he shouldn't and brings too much heat and attention on himself. So we'll see hey, that's on him. How smart can he maneuver through all that? So we'll see. But you asked for it. There it is. There's my assessment and analysis and opinion on what's next for Alec Murdaugh inside South Carolina prisons. Thanks for watching. See you next time.